Welcome back. Last month, the House and Government Operations Committee heard testimony on legislation that will offer terminally ill adults the option to voluntarily request lethal doses of drugs. Tom, do you think it's time for assisted suicide in Maryland?
I'm not so sure about that. Now, I'm coming at this from the perspective of somebody who works with hospice. I'm a companion for dying people. So, and I've done this now for three years at least. And you learn a lot in that perspective, you know. And the funny thing about this is people argue over it. We, as a state, if you want to, now Maryland doesn't do this, you can take a person's life. The state can. For criminals, you can kill somebody, literally, and the state will do that, and yet you're telling somebody they can't, they have no rights over their own living and dying.
But I think we're taking a life for life.
Well, that's still taking a life. It does not at all, I mean, you can't look at it that way.
It's an eye for an eye if you...
But that's not the point.
But we're talking.
This is about
we're talking about an individual, yourself,
individual
Ken, Jim,
rights.
making that decision.
Yeah.
Listen, I think it's time. Okay, Ken, you have some thoughts on this?
So, you know, I really firmly believe that as long as a person is of sound mind, and they know that, hey, I'm facing a probably very painful end to my life, that they should absolutely have the option to end their life on their terms instead of letting them, die slowly. But with that said, that needs to be, they have to be of sound mind. It can't be a health advocate making that decision for them. That has to be something that they have to be capable of saying, that they have to be capable of making that decision.
And I think one of the issues here, see, this is what from my hospice perspective, you can make most patients and people comfortable. I see it all the time. And they live longer, and sometimes it's a good thing for the family, for other people. You know, it's about, you'd be surprised how many of these people, their most concern is being hospitable. I come to visit them, and they say, I'm sorry, I'm having a bad day, and I'm not talking. I said, you don't have to talk. I'm not here. I'm here to serve you. And this thing, but real human beings are like this, and sometimes they don't really understand what's available today as palliative care. It's a big issue. And I'd rather go down that route, certainly than this other. However, you get into rights issues here, and there's 6 states in the country that do have laws. And they're working relatively well with not a lot of problems. There's a lot of issues, but they work through some of them.
So we're past the Kevorkian area.
Well, not exactly, no.
Okay. Jim, you have some thoughts?
So I would, I am going to run back to the abortion piece. I can tell you from a religious and other perspective, I would never choose to take my own life, whether assisted or otherwise.
Right.
Just wouldn't do it.
Right.
Now, does that mean that I should dictate that others should? No, I don't think so. So I think there's a need to look at this. I think it needs to be thoroughly vetted. I think what Maryland has done, and I'm sure based on some of the other 6 states, I know that the person has to meet with 2 doctors. They have to. There's a 15-day waiting period. They have to apply twice orally and once in writing. They have to be capable of self-ingesting the medication that will cause the end. And at any time during the process, they have the right to change. So it sounds like we're going at this the right way. So again, my personal beliefs are going to be different than what I will try to impose on others.
Yeah, and I think of even like the battle situation.
Yeah.
The severely wounded guy who wants the other guy to put him out of his misery.
But I think the palliative care that you spoke of is a key element.
I think
because there are, at this point, many, many ways where we can stop pain and suffering.
I would
and
make
still
that a
give
requirement
some
that they
quality of life to those people.
And it's amazing the quality, I'll tell you. I'm often amazed.
Now,
right up to the very end.
To that point,
amazing.
With the quality care that we're able to provide, do we not impact potentially their judgment to make a decision about choosing an end-of-life option?
Well, I think they will understand going, there really should be some required education
Right.
about
Yeah,
palliative
I'm
care
not gonna
before
disagree
you
with
do that.
Okay, but let's say
Yeah.
they're in that, and you know they're starting to see the light.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
and it's more than about just pain too. So I mean, for example, let's say they know, hey, it's going to be a very long and expensive process for my family to take care of me, and they don't want to put them through that financial burden.
Tom's also being, like when my mother passed away, it was being hospitable.
Yes.
Okay, my mother would have dreaded people coming in and fawning all over her, and she couldn't get up and greet them and be
Well,
sociable.
yeah,
And that would have been a tough. Okay, but then you have the situation of my sister, my father, myself in that equation, and is she of right mind? Would she have been of right mind to make that decision?
Right.
And would that have impacted? How would that have politics gone down in the family? And is that divisive to the family and saying, listen, we think this is the best option for mom or best option for dad. Now what do we do? Because all three of us are educated, and we all three of us have different philosophies and views on life.
Yeah. But it's up to the person, and if they want to, they find ways, as we all know.
Yeah.
So, stigmatizing, I don't know. It's when you get assisted, but then it's really difficult to draw the line what is and what isn't.
I personally don't see myself ever being able to make that decision for myself. But like Jim said, I don't have a right to dictate how others should live or how others should die.
If they're still, they've been, told they have a terminal disease, and they don't understand about palliative care, and they're still capable of driving. Who's to say that they don't hop in their car and not take anyone else's life, but just drive off the side of the road into a tree, because they don't want to be that burden on their family. This provides an option, maybe not quite as starkly contrasted, but it provides an option.
And I've had people on hospice care graduate because they were no longer dying and they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that's not uncommon. I've had several people.
Things do change.
They sometimes do change. So but again, I hate to take the rights away from people of their own, even if I don't like the idea, I'm not sure. It's a difficult subject. I think it's a good one to talk about.
Tom?
People don't talk about this.
Tom, we're going to let you have the last word on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we're going to the Fast Five. Stay tuned.